All right, good morning, everybody. We have made it to our final session of our 5th annual CMO Summit. Still letting a few folks in here, but we are ready to roll. Thank you for being here. So excited to have Joe with us this morning. I know quite a few of you have been waiting, signed up pretty quickly for his talk, and we will get to it more momentarily. Just a few things. Again, some of you, and I recognize some names, thank you for sticking with us over the 2.5 days. I think a few of you have been in every one of the events, or almost all of them, and that's terrific. This is what this event is for. It's a way for students to connect to the marketplace, learn as much as we can from people who do it every day, so that you're ready to launch your careers when the time is right. So, like you've probably heard me, some of you have heard me say before, we've been doing this for a few years now. I'm very proud of what this event has become. It is our biggest and our showcase event for the marketing major every year. And this year's theme is called Marketing's Moment, in an era of disruption. And I know Joe is going to talk a lot about this here in a couple of minutes, but we really do think, I've always believed marketing is the hub of every successful organization, because at the end of the day, we don't exist without our customers, and marketing owns that customer relationship and how to build it. But nowhere, and at no time do I think that's more important than right now with everything that's happening. And so we've made that the theme of this year's event. Thankful to the university, the Moore School, American Marketing Association student chapter, who has done work behind the scenes on this. It's gone off really smoothly. The technology has worked. That was my biggest concern kind of going into these last couple of days. I hope I just didn't jinx us, but it really has been terrific. So for the few of you who may not know who I am, my name is Jeff Railing. I'm on the marketing faculty here, so I'm here every day with all of you, and also serve as our director of the Center for Marketing. And the Center for Marketing has an advisory board. Many of the members are in this meeting as well. I thank them for all their support in helping us get this together this year, and everything they do for us. But the primary charter of the Center for Marketing is to connect our students to the marketplace, whether that be through classroom projects, guest speakers, or this event, and other ways too. And so, that's kind of what led to the creation of the CMO Summit. Was, let's make sure each year we're staying in touch with what's happening in the marketplace. And honestly, Joe, so that there's some faculty here as well, like myself. This is how we stay in touch in some ways with the marketplace as well, to make sure we're teaching the right things. So it's a huge event for us, and thank everybody for their support. Tina and Nicole, the folks behind the scenes, couldn't do it without you, and I very much appreciate it. We've had over 300 people register. Last year was over 250. That was a record. So obviously we broke the record again this year. This is Joe's going to take us home. This is our final event for the week. And we are recording this. I told Joe that as well. And my hope is this isn't going to appear in the media or anything, but we may create some short videos out of that week and even use in our classes and things like that, just to feature our speakers, and again, bring that touch of reality into the classroom as often as possible. So there's very few rules as we go through the next hour and 15 minutes, right? If you get bounced out for any reason, come right back into that link. If you have trouble getting in, just copy and paste it into your browser. We have had some issues with that. If everybody could keep their audio on mute until the Q&A, and I'll call on you, or I'll monitor the chat. That's really the next point. Please chat your comments. Please chat your questions. Get talking with one another. Don't be shy. As we get through it, and Joe kind of gets to the latter part, I'll kind of bring up your questions and let you ask them directly, if we can make that happen. And those of you that know me have heard this too many times now, and I apologize for that, but challenge yourself over the next hour to learn something different. And I do this still to this day. Whenever I hear a speaker, I have a book I keep in my office, and I try to write down a handful of things that I didn't know, or that made me think about something differently, or pushed me maybe to think in a new way, or a disruptive way, which is going to kind of be our theme here. So, speaking of that, I've mentioned disruption a couple of times. Here's that definition: disturbance or problems which interrupt an event, activity, or process. I mean, these days, right, there's all kinds of disruption around us. We've got supply chain issues. We've got stuff stuck in the ports. We've certainly been dealing with the COVID situation, new business models, new competitors, thinking about your competition differently. we are in an era of disruption. And as we just heard in our last panel, Terrence Williams from Allstate said, hey, it's here to stay. This is the new norm for us, not just during COVID or these types of situations. The technology and the pace of change is so accelerated now that we're going to be in a constant state of disruption. And I think that's really important for the next generation of marketers to keep in mind. You're going to be living in that world. And that's why we really wanted to rally around this theme this week. And I know Joe's titled his talk around, so you want to be a disruptor. And so that's where we're heading. And I'm so happy that Joe chose to join us here today, virtually from Atlanta. We're going to try again. Maybe we can get him here in person and et cetera. But let me give you a little bit of background on Joe, and then I'll turn it over to him. So Joe's the Chick-fil-A Senior Vice President, Brand Strategy, Advertising, and Media. He's responsible for brand strategy, creative development, channel strategy, execution, digital and social, media planning and buying, as well as partnerships and sponsorships. So literally and figuratively, that was a mouthful. He's got a lot on his plate. He's responsible for bringing the Little Things campaign to life, as well as Chick-fil-A's holiday platform, Evergreen. Prior to joining Chick-fil-A, Joe served as president and chief client officer at Irwin Penland. So he's got advertising agency experience as well. They've got a big presence up in Greenville, a full service agency. He also spent 16 years in various marketing roles at Verizon Wireless, including vice president of e-commerce and vice president of marketing communications. And a little known fun fact, I think at that time he crossed paths with our own Beth Renninger. So there's a little bit of history there as well. He's passionate about building long-term brand love and loyalty, and about customer obsession. Joe will tell you he has and I love this, I had to read it. Joe will tell you he has mostly just hired really good people and let them do their jobs. And that's been one of the other themes across these last 2.5 days, is just the importance of people and hiring trusted people that are smart, diverse, and that can bring those new ideas and that value creation that we talked so much about even in the last panel. So Joe is not an alum of USC, but his wife Cynthia is. So I have to give her a shout out. She was at the business school here a few years ago. Joe's actually went to school at Drexel University in Philly. And you can see here, he loves Philly sports, Pearl Jam, Marvel, Star Wars. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. We've gotten to talk a couple times here over the last month. And Joe, thanks again for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a great intro. I really appreciate that. Let me see if I can share here. And then just give me a thumbs up if you can see.
Yeah, it's coming up right now.
The awkward moment that happens in front of the top of every Zoom call.
Yeah.
Can you see that? All right. Okay. All right. Well, and hi, Beth. I didn't say hi before I saw your class. And I appreciate you guys eating that Chick-fil-A. That's we appreciate the business. But my big question for you today is, so you want to be a disruptor? I mean, if you're in school for this and you've signed up for this event, I would assume that the answer is yes. I don't want to assume, but I would assume that the answer is yes. And I take that as a good thing. I think the other question you have to answer is, do you want to do that in corporate America? Because there's lots of ways you could be a disruptor, and there's lots of ways you could be a disruptor in marketing. Go join a startup, and it's honestly probably easier if you join a startup. And there's a lot of risk reward that comes with startups, and you might hit it, you might not, you might be disruptive, you might not, you might get noticed, you might not. But if you want to do it in corporate America, it's a little bit harder, but it's possible. It's possible. And what I hope to do for you today is tell you some stories and give you some tips on how you might do that in corporate America. Because if you want to join like an established brand, and I listened in to Jeff yesterday from Progressive, and he felt like a bit of a disruptor. His talk was great. And so you probably got some tips from him. But when you hear people talk about multi-$100 million budgets, $2 billion budgets, like he was talking about, 4 billion, whatever he said, when you're talking about those kind of budgets, there's some challenges that come with wanting to be a disruptor. So I'm going to take you back to 2009. Actually, really should go back as far as 2007. And you may or may not remember this, but 2007 was the year that the iPhone launched. And a lot of people point to that year as like, well, that's kind of the moment all of this stuff changed, and technology really accelerated, and especially for marketers. But in 2007, when the iPhone launched, I was at Verizon with Beth, and Verizon didn't have it. We didn't get it. AT&T got it, and AT&T got a 3-year exclusive on the iPhone. Now, you may not remember that when the iPhone first launched, everyone was going bananas over the look and the feel and how it operated and what it could do. But commercially, it wasn't a huge success right away. It was expensive. It was only available on AT&T, and I'm not saying this because I was at Verizon, but AT&T at the time was having a lot of network problems. People were getting huge bills running up data on it. The billing for the data wasn't working, which was, part of the whole attraction of the phone. And so it just didn't take off like right away. So in 2007, it didn't hurt us that bad at Verizon. We sort of saw the potential, and I think we were disappointed that we didn't have it at launch and that it might be a few years. So we were nervous about it, but it didn't hurt us. In 2008, it started to hurt a little more. In 2009, it really started to smack. Like it was taken off, and the thing had, come down in price. They'd fixed all the problems. The second generation, the third generation had come out, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, whatever they were calling them at the time. And it really started to hurt. And we had nothing like it. So most of the calendar year of 2009, lots and lots of people at Verizon spent time with Google and Motorola developing a phone that we thought maybe had a shot at competing with the iPhone and pushing back on it a little bit. I think for the most part, we were all holding our breath until we could get it at that point, because it had started to hurt bad enough. But most of the year we spent building the device that we thought could compete with it. And Motorola was the chosen handset provider and manufacturer. Google had a little known operating system called Android. So it today, and obviously it's the other big operating system in the world. But at the time, it had only launched on one device, like a T-Mobile, and it just wasn't that big of a hit. It wasn't that big of a deal. So we spent a lot of time out at the Google offices talking to Google engineers. We spent a lot of time with Motorola. And, the goal was get this out by the holiday of 2009. And I got to tell you, I was in the role of marketing communications at the time. So it was my job to name the device, brand the device, come up with a campaign to get it to market, to launch it, to have it be a holiday success, so that we didn't have a really bad fourth quarter, which would have been, not so much fun given the way that the iPhone success was progressing. And so I found myself in, I think it was in August of 2009, and the intention was to launch this device in October. I found myself in August sitting there with not much of a plan. We had a fantastic advertising agency at the time, McCann, New York, who oddly is the main advertising agency partner for Chick-fil-A now, even some of the same people from back then. And McCann was great for Verizon, but they just were not having a whole lot of success with the work on this device. And we had cycled through probably 50, 60 names for the device, 60 campaign ideas for the device, and nothing was really sticking. And honestly, it was a case of sort of we didn't want to settle for good enough. We were really worried that this had to be amazing to be able to, hold off the iPhone for another holiday season. And so I went to my CMO at the time. There's a guy named John Stratton, and I said to him, and I very rarely would do this because I was a pretty confident person, not cocky, but confident. And I went to him and I said, I'm out. I'm out of ideas, man. I don't know what to do. We are up against the wall. The time is getting tight. And, I don't think McCann's going to get us there. And I don't know what to do. And I was in his office, and he reached in his desk and he pulls out a business card and he says, call this guy. And on the business card was the name John McGarry. And John McGarry was the founder or sort of co-founder of an agency called McGarry Bowen. They're still around. They've now been sort of merged with Dentsu. And so it's called Dentsu McGarry Bowen now. But John McGarry and Gordon Bowen, John McGarry was the business guy. Gordon Bowen was the creative guy. He said, give this guy a call. And he said, he has called me every 2 weeks for the last 2 years trying to get business with us. And he said, I've had lunch with him a few times, but that's it. And we just have never had anything to give him. He said, they're a little more boutique-y. They do some stuff with Disney and Amex, but he said, give him a try. What could it hurt? We're kind of up against the wall. So I called John McGarry. It's probably 2:00 in the afternoon. He said, can you get into the city tonight? And I was in northern New Jersey. I said, sure. So I took a car into New York City, met him for dinner that night, talked to him about what the problem was, talked to him about, John, give me his number. He said, can you meet tomorrow and brief us properly? I said, sure. So I called my team that night. I said, look, get the brief out that we had given McCann a couple months ago, get everything you can, get the device, get the sample device, let's go. We got to meet with these guys tomorrow morning. We met with them the next morning. We gave them the overview. We showed them the phone. It wasn't like fully operational, but they could see, they could touch it, they could feel it, they could kind of get the idea. And they said, give us 7 days. We were like, what? And they said, 7 days, give us 7 days and we'll come back to you. So we gave them 7 days. And in about 6 days, they called and they said, hey, we're going to come out to Basking Ridge. Can we have access to the loading dock? And I had never gotten that question. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what they wanted to do. I was like, I guess so. Sure, we can get you access to that. So we got them access to the loading dock. They took over an entire conference room in the building. And this is the Verizon corporate headquarters, which, by the way, was about as corporate America as you can get. It was about the most boring set of buildings, known to man. But they came in and they took over a whole conference room and wouldn't let anyone in until the meeting was set to begin. So there was a meeting scheduled. So they got in the day before. And so when it was time for the meeting, we walked into the room and the entire room was covered in this. It didn't look like Basking Ridge anymore. It didn't look like a corporate office. It looked like another planet. It was completely, they had built like false walls. They had covered the walls in campaign materials and campaign ideas. They had covered in like thematic kind of stuff. It felt very science fiction-y, very, space. And it was weird because, we were like, Droid is, it's like Android is the operating system. Nobody really knew that at the time. So it wasn't super popular. There wasn't a high awareness around Android, but Droid also, reminded me of Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. And so but it didn't look exactly like that. So I thought, like, are they doing a licensing thing? Like, what is this? Is it original? Anyway, long story short, they pitched us for about 2 hours. And in about 2 hours, we bought everything they pitched us. We said, okay, we're going to do this. And at that point, now we're probably in the first week of September. And we said, you have 30 days to do it because we wanted to launch it in the World Series. And that was like the first week of October because we needed the whole fourth quarter to get this thing going. So this is the first thing that happened from that pitch. Kind of weird, but disruptive. Like we were like, okay, we have to like go against the status quo. And what they were saying was like, oh, the iPhone's already been accepted as the status quo, but there's a bunch of stuff that it doesn't do. And, we need to play against that. We need to be the foil to the iPhone. We can't just be another device with a touch screen. And so very disruptive. In fact, like this only ran for like a couple days. It was just like, it's coming. And here we go. And it was all on big events and things like that and high profile, lots of digital, lots of TV, like I said, World Series, all that kind of stuff. And then when it was about to launch, this is what ran. so you kind of get the idea. It was meant to be cinematic. I mean, we had to convince people that we, needed to go to Prague to shoot some of that because it was less expensive, because it felt like we were shooting a movie. So you try telling like a, telecom CEO that you needed to go to Prague to shoot something, they're like, what? I'm like, trust me, it's going to cost a lot less to do it there, but we shot all over the place because we felt like we had to really shake things up. We had to make it seem different. We had to do something that would, shake people off the AT&T iPhone tree, And so that's kind of what we did to bring it to life. And what's amazing now, look, nobody can dispute. I mean, both platforms have amazing success globally now, and they're kind of our only two platforms. A lot of the other potential, mobile platforms just died off the vine, right? BlackBerry and Microsoft tried, and there was a lot of wannabe competitors to iOS and Android. But today there's kind of two global players in that share space when it comes to mobile platforms. And back then it was just getting started, but I really think that Verizon had a lot to do with the success of Android overall. And even the chief Google engineer, a guy by the name of Hiroshi Lockheimer, we went out before launch to Google and showed their development team all of this work before it ever hit the market. And I felt, I felt like I was George Lucas. Like that was the reception we got out there. And what I didn't realize at the time was these guys have been slaving for 3 years to try and build a competitive OS in Android, and just had been beaten back. And the one device they had launched at T-Mobile wasn't that successful. So they were like, this is really going to help us. And we didn't know that at the time. We didn't know why they were so excited, because they were going to go, sell the operating system to a bunch of other people and make a bunch of other phones. That was their plan. It wasn't going to be exclusive to us, but we felt like we could brand something at Verizon and kind of own that. I think it lasted for about 3 or 4 years before that sort of Droid, sub brand kind of died off, and just Android and Google kind of took over, and I was gone by then. But back then it was disruptive, and we sold 1 million Droids faster than 1 million iPhones sold in 2007. So we were pretty proud of it at the time, and felt like the disruption in a pretty, sort of conservative industry was really, really important. So that's being disruptive in marketing, and that was at Verizon. And like Jeff said in the beginning, I was there for 16 or 17 years, had a long career there, mostly in marketing, some in sales operations and things like that, but mostly in marketing, and got to do a lot of amazing stuff. And while I was there, and I do want to stop. Like, that was a great story. And I want to just say hi. Like, sorry, I didn't really do proper introductions. Jeff did a great one, but I'm like super excited to be with you guys today. My wife is like probably more excited than I am. She was thrilled to hear that this was going to happen and that I was going to do it. She's not on with us today, but I want to get the recording for her so she could see it and see some of your questions at the end. But she was very excited. And when I was at Verizon, that's where I met her, and this is what came with her. She's an avid dog rescuer, so that's what our house looks like. Sometimes the number goes up, but it never goes down, so we always have anywhere from 7 to 15 dogs in the house. And she does amazing work, but I think that's the heart of a South Carolina girl, is what that is, because she is from Greenville. And then we have 2 great daughters, Grace, and this is a little bit of an older picture, but Grace is 11 now and Gabby's 9. So we got 2 great daughters, and we've moved around a bunch, but I think we're settled here in Atlanta at Chick-fil-A for a while. So after I left Verizon, I did spend some time at Irwin-Penland, like Jeff said, and lived in Greenville. Although I tell everybody, like, the time that I lived in Greenville, I also lived in the Grand Hyatt in New York half the time, because we had offices in Greenville and in New York. And so half the time I was in Greenville and half the time I was in the Grand Hyatt on 42nd Street in New York. But it was an awesome 4 or 5 years. Got to see a lot of things that you don't get to see if you stay at one company. Working in an agency is an amazing experience. You get to touch a lot of different brands, a lot of different business models. You see what problems are common. You see what problems are unique. It's really, really fascinating. But then I got this amazing chance to come to Chick-fil-A back in late 2015, early 2016. And honestly, Chick-fil-A was always like kind of one of my top 3 brands that if I got the chance, I would jump at it. And it happened in a very like crazy way, but it happened, and I'm really glad that it did. I'm sort of blessed to be able to come here and hopefully finish out my career here. But it's interesting because when I joined Verizon, I felt like maybe 20% of people in America had a cell phone, and by the time I left, about 100% of people in America had a cell phone. So it was a crazy growth experience, and just kind of a roller coaster on the way up the entire time I was there. I didn't think I could find that again unless I went to a startup or something like that, but I seem to have found it in Chick-fil-A, because right now it is a roller coaster up that's almost hard to control, which we are very fortunate for that. And even during the pandemic, it almost made no sense, but it was like 3 lines wrapped around the building in the drive-through instead of 2. So our business has only gotten better somehow, and we are super grateful for that. But it's just an amazing brand. So I'm really happy to be here. And what I thought I would do is talk to you a little bit about marketing and disruption today. And when you see this, I wonder, like, how do you think he feels? How do you think he feels? Like, I always think that when I see the Marvel movies and he transforms into the Hulk, like, how does he feel? He might feel like consumers feel when they think about marketing, because marketing can be frustrating. Marketing can be interruptive. It's not always welcomed by consumers, right? And then I think about, though, like, how does this guy feel? And I love this little picture, and obviously it's been quite a phenomenon the last couple of years. But how does he feel? And the truth is, like, marketing can also be amazing. Marketing can also be powerful. It's just, there's a lot of positives to it if you do it right. So consumers can really hate it, but they can also love it. And you have to do it right, and that's where the real wins are, right? And it can be great when it's disruptive. When it's disruptive, it can be great. So what I thought I would do is give you 10 tips on how to be disruptive. And most of these are 10 tips on how to be disruptive in corporate America, because that's what I know. So I'm just going to share from personal experience, 10 tips, and I'll try to go through these pretty fast. But what I wanted to do, and I'll try to do it with each one, I tried to think about the 10 things that I would pass on to you, given your stage in life, and what you guys are thinking about doing next, and then give you an example. So try to help you understand, like, here's what I'm thinking, and here's a real example. So I'll try to do these quick, but 10 tips on how to be a disruptor in marketing in corporate America. Number 1 is you have to be business people first. We have a saying around here. It's like, marketers are business people. And part of the problem is, if you're not a well-rounded business person, then in certain places in corporate America, you got a problem. And Jeff kind of referred to this yesterday a little bit about, challenges when somebody's like, I want change. And then, you come in and 60 days later, you're like, do you really want it? Corporate America is generally conservative. It's fun. It can be amazing because there's big budgets and you can do a lot of cool stuff, but that's part of the problem. Marketers get attracted by the big budgets and they want to do the fun stuff. And marketing is really hard work. You've heard people say it's a combination of art and science. It's more science than ever. Right? It's more data driven. It's more measurable than ever before. 20 years ago, we couldn't measure everything. So sure, everybody's going to criticize. How do you know that's working? I don't know. My gut says it is. My intuition says it is. Well, now I can prove to you that it is, and so where we can prove it, we need to prove it. But you need to be overall business people before you're anything, right? And that means you have to partner really well with other departments in the business, technology, IT, finance, supply chain, operations, whatever kind of company you join, you're going to need to link up with the key departments, even HR, because people matter and you got to get the right people. So you need help, but if you become a really well-rounded business person, you make better decisions, right? You know how to move the needle, what moves the needle. But this is really critical, because if you can do this first and gain trust of others in the organization, then you get a lot of runway. You get a long leash, and that's what you need. That's what you need to be disruptive. A lot of people will tell you, like, oh, just like, break the rules, be disruptive first, just don't listen to anybody. That doesn't always work in corporate America, because there's a lot of people looking. There's a lot of consensus, management. There's a lot of group decision making. It's really hard. So you have to be a really well-rounded business person. And, you know, whether you could do that through school or whether you could do that through experiences or just do it quickly when you get in by taking a few different jobs or whatever. But it really, really helps. To me, it's really, really critical. It's been one of the most important things for me. I've even gotten into arguments with people at Chick-fil-A, which doesn't happen a lot, by the way, because it's a super, super nice culture. But I've had like the operations, like C-level executives, like say to me, like, "Oh, yeah, here you go. Another typical marketing guy, just like wanting all the money, wanting to do the fun stuff." And I've had to go like, that's offensive. You know, that's offensive to me now because I've never been that. And I will prove to you that this works. And I can show you the return on investment and I can show you the value that we're adding to the business. And you have to do that. You have to push back and you have to create space for yourself. So number one is be business people first. Remember, business, you know, marketers are business people. So that's what we say around here. Okay. Number two, seek the truth, right? This is one of the most important things that you can take away from today. A brand is at its best when it speaks its truth, whatever its truth is. You know, it's a founder driven brand like Chick-fil-A. You have to kind of get at the heart of the founder. You know, if it's a big public company like Verizon, you have to figure out another way to get at like, what's the truth? But what do you want to own in the customer's mind? You know, if Amazon owns convenience now, if Disney owns magic, you know, whatever it is, if Nike owns, you know, performance or the athlete in all of us, whatever it might be, you know, a brand is at its best when it's speaking its truth. And so you don't want to be gimmicky. You don't want to make things up. You don't want to stretch. You want to be authentic, you know? And I've always said to people, like, when you can find the truth and then marketers can like shine a light on that truth, amazing things happen from a growth perspective. So I'm not going to show you video, but, you know, back in the day, like that's how this came about. The Test Man at Verizon, which was a campaign that ran for 10 years and then weirdly stopped, and then also weirdly, you know, this guy went to Sprint, and you know, it's a big gag in the industry. But when this campaign ran at Verizon, it ran for 10 years, and the way that it started was that the marketing group was in a meeting with the network group, again, being good business people trying to understand the business. And the head of network said, you know, we actually have these people that do this. They drive around and they like test the network against the competitors' networks. And everyone in marketing was like, wait, what? Like, that's a thing? Like, we have people that do that? And they're like, oh, yeah. Like, we know our performance, like all over the country. They drive thousands of miles. They get in these cars. There's cell phones of every competitor attached. There's like monitoring devices, all this stuff. This is back in, you know, 2005, 2001. And I wasn't me, the head of marketing at the time was like, that's an amazing insight. Like, I don't think anybody else does that. And they took it to the agency, and the agency was like, let's create a character that does that. And that's where that came from. And his, like, you know, you remember for a couple of years, all he said was, can you hear me now? Good. Can you hear me now? That's all he was doing, was testing the network. And he had this sort of like relentless pursuit of perfection. That was true. That was true about Verizon. And I think it showed up in the network performance, and customers believed it. So it was a big success, right? At Chick-fil-A, it's been this latest thing. You know, the cows were an amazing campaign for 20 years, and we'll talk about that. But it's been this latest thing, the little things, that has been the truth. And by the way, they're true stories. This is not like a novel idea. You know, this is a decades old idea. It's just a testimonial format. The couch is just a device. You know, it's just people telling true stories. But what we were seeing all over social media and all over the news was all these amazing things that Chick-fil-A team members do in the restaurant for customers. You know, oh, a kid changed a tire in the parking lot. You know, someone ran 3 blocks to deliver the milkshake that the customer forgot. You know, someone pushed back like a family night so the family that kept having trouble getting there could make it the next week. Like, they changed the hours. Like, the team members pay attention to the customer. And this is in a fast food industry where, you know, the average check is $10. And our people are delivering hospitality that you would expect in a much nicer, you know, facility, much nicer restaurant. And so we were like, this is a thing. This is our thing. This is our truth. And because customers know it and they're experiencing it, if we just tell it and get louder about it, it should make sense and it should be successful. And it's been ridiculously successful for the business. The more we've told these true stories, the faster the business grows. You know, and we've kept alive the cows and done other things, but like, this has been the core of what we've done since 2018. So just a point of like, seek the truth, shine a light on it, and amazing things happen. And that's, when you're trying to disrupt, that's what you want. You want like to accelerate the business. Our old CMO used to say, can you bend the business? Can marketing bend the business? That's what this is, right? So that's number two. Number three is rally the troops. This is all about people. And Jeff mentioned it. Jeff mentioned it yesterday, and then Jeff today mentioned it as well. But this is all about people, and you cannot do any of this yourself. And you're early in your careers, you're going to work long hours, and you're going to think like it's just easier to do this myself than like explain it to somebody else or whatever. And then as you get older and wiser, you just start to go like it's just easier to bring a team along. Like I said in my thing, like I think the best thing I've done in my career is like I've been really lucky. I think I've made good choices. I've made a few mistakes, but I've hired great people, and you get out of their way. Let them do their job, and do it together. Roll up your sleeves and get in it with them, but do it together. Rally the troops, and you can't do this on your own. You got to be collaborative. You got to create excitement. You got to invite people in. You got to be inclusive. But the more people you can get aligned on the same mission, clarity, focus, alignment, the quicker you can be disruptive, right? And I just did this as a goof, but like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're buying them Christmas sweaters and dressing up as Santa Claus, like whatever you need to do to get the right people and to motivate them against a common mission and a common vision, you need to do. So if you want to be disruptive, you need to be a leader. And to be a leader, you got to really rally the troops. So that's number three. Hopefully that makes sense. Number four is run to change. Now there's lots of examples. I felt like Jeff's whole talk yesterday, which was amazing, was all about risk. That's kind of run into change. He talked about it a lot. And I think there's a lot of common, verbiage there. But, change is constant, and it's only accelerating, and especially in marketing. And I don't know if you've ever, a lot of people talk about the old Moore's Law and the true, sort of relationship of like the acceleration of technology and all that stuff. There's another little or lesser known law called Martek's Law that was developed, I think, like back in the early 2000s. But basically, it was the same thing. It was like the rate of change in marketing technology is always going to outstrip the rate of change in an organization that's got marketing as a function. It just always is. So what do you do about that? And so because there's always going to be a gap. And so you can reset your organization constantly to try to catch up to where technology is. But the minute you do that, the new organization just acts like an organization and kind of marches along at a slower pace. And so the gap creates itself again. So you're never going to catch it, but you got to run to it. You can't be afraid of it. You got to sort of embrace it. I gave a talk a couple years ago about embracing complexity, because people at Chick-fil-A were like developing like complexity, algorithms and saying like, we got to strip complexity out of the business. And I was like, why? Like, why? If complexity adds value, if it adds functionality, wouldn't we want to embrace it? Just because it's harder doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. I mean, I'm all for simplifying things, but like if complexity can really deliver value, and I showed the steering wheel of like a 1965 like Ford Shelby like GT Mustang and the steering wheel of a 2019 same car, and it's way more complex. There's buttons and paddles and all kinds of stuff, and if you get in the car for the first time, you don't know what all that stuff does, but then you learn that it adds a ton of functionality, and functionality adds value. So embrace complexity, run to change. The example I would give you here is when I joined the company, Chick-fil-A, part of the attraction to me was that in the interview process, the person I was interviewing with said, the question he asked me was, if cows in college football was the answer, what was the question? And I thought that was amazing, because I was like, okay, this guy doesn't want to just hang his hat on the cows, right? Which, was an amazing campaign. It was a 25-year campaign, and we haven't killed them. We want to use them as an asset and use them in the right way, but we had to evolve them. We had to change them. So, we did stuff like this, and I'll show you this and I'll talk about what's changing.
Someone here at Circus Burger has been talking to the press, telling them that chicken is better than burgers. And I want to know who it is. Is it you, Bill?
No, sir.
Diane?
Wasn't me.
I know it wasn't Steve. He just started. You're doing a great job here, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm not big on pointing fingers, but it was definitely Bill.
Whoa, it could literally be any one of us.
Somebody did it, and I'm going to find out who.
What is going on here?
So there, and you even see the little wink in the Chick-fil-A logo at the end. But that's how the cows came to life for 20 years. And when I got here, there was a document that was really called this. It was called the Moo Manifesto. And the document had like 60 pages of rules about what the cows could do and couldn't do. And when I got here, I was like, yeah, we're throwing that out. Like, I don't want a rule book on what they can and can't do. Like, I want to understand the why of the character, but I don't want a rule book, And so we threw it out. And, what we're trying to do now is like, we're trying to develop like NFTs of the cows, and like have people come in and, claim the first 100, digital animated cow concepts and things like that, and give them the signature members in the app and stuff like that. We're trying to reimagine Cow Appreciation Day, where for 20 years people came to the restaurant on a single day and dressed like a cow and got a free chicken sandwich. And we can't even handle that anymore. I mean, we can't even handle the volume. So, but people get excited about it. So how do you reimagine that? Maybe it's some sort of like augmented reality cow scavenger hunt or something across the country. And, when you find them all, unlocks a free sandwich, and then you can redeem it over the course of a month to take pressure off the restaurants. It still gets customers really excited, but it's just not the same as what it was. So even with something as successful as the cows, and you'll be in this situation in your career, where somebody's going to go like, you can't touch that, or it's good the way it works. You got to say, no. How do we change it? How do we run to change? And how do you run fast? I wish we had actually done some of this sooner. COVID might have put a pause on it a little bit, but that's no excuse. But, I wish we'd moved sooner on it. So run to it, embrace it. Number 5, have a sense of urgency. This is the only slide that I didn't put a picture of a person, because when I was thinking about a person from entertainment, the only thing I come up with urgency was Liam Neeson from Taken, but that sounded really violent stuff. So I went with the Lightspeed image. But have a sense of urgency, right? Hustle harder. Competitors aren't resting. The market isn't waiting for you. Like, the biggest problem I see in corporate America, and Jeff talked about it yesterday, he was like, get there fast, make decisions, move. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. A lot of people in corporate America, especially when things are good, don't have a sense of urgency. They get super comfortable. And I think it's marketing's responsibility, because we're closest to the customer, like Jeff said, to make sure that the rest of the business understands what's changing with the customer, what's changing with the market, and like striking that sense of urgency in the rest of the organization. Because most often you won't find it in other functional departments. You're not going to get a sense of urgency out of finance or out of operations. It's not going to happen. Marketing's responsibility is to bring that sense of urgency. A really small example I can give you is this year, right? Coming out of COVID, it's all over the news, but like, there's a labor crunch everywhere. And we're experiencing it too, and we knew it was getting bad, but at one point, a bunch of operators got on a call with us and told us that it was just worse than they had ever seen, worst labor crunch in 20 years, hard to find good people. And they were like, can you please help? And we had never done anything like this. It's a franchise organization, so we typically don't do a lot of like recruitment advertising or employment branding. But we were like, okay, we got to help. This is worse than ever. So in about 25 days from the time they told us that till the time we got it to market, we did a ton of stuff like this. And it's nothing special, but it's just to show you the speed that you have to get something done. And by the way, the reason we were able to get it done is because where I'm standing here, we have a big in-house agency production facility that thankfully we had finished during COVID. And so when this happened, if we had to do this externally and figure out how to go to New York or LA to do all this, it would have never happened. But we did stuff like this.
My name is Riley, and this is my Chick-fil-A success story. As a team member, something I really loved was that we were closed on Sundays. And now that I'm an executive leader at my Chick-fil-A and a working mom, having that day off means everything to me.
So like I said, it's nothing special, it's nothing fancy, but it was the first time that Chick-fil-A had done anything with that. Honestly, we never really had trouble hiring people or keeping people, but everybody's feeling it right now. And they were begging for help in the field. And we were like, we got to go and we got to move. And we dropped other priorities to make it happen. You had to shift responsibilities, priorities, move people onto the team to make it happen that fast, call in millions of favors, like everything you could possibly do. But you have to have that sense of urgency all the time. So it's just a little example I give you of, when you have to move fast, and you got to have a sense for when you need to move fast. Number 6 is challenge existing assumptions. And this just means like ask lots of questions. This doesn't go well for me at home when I ask lots of questions. My wife gets kind of tired of that. But at work, you need to ask lots of questions. You need to think about the total experience. It's not just about advertising. Don't always trust the data. And what I used to have a CEO who said, you know, in God we trust, all others bring data. And, you know, you get caught up in like, well, the data says this, the data says that. Data can say anything you want if you know how to manipulate it. So you got to be careful. Don't always trust it, challenge it, question it, try to look at it from a different angle, you know, really get aggressive about that, you know, eventually trust what you feel like you validated, but don't always trust it right away, right? And then take quick action. I'll give you an example of challenge existing assumptions. Back when I was at Verizon, this is probably also 2009, 2010, you know, we had gotten into multicultural marketing pretty heavily, and we had done a lot in the Hispanic market, but not very much for the African-American market. And we had some serious market share challenges in African-American communities across major cities in the United States. And we knew it was a big opportunity, and we just weren't getting the word out right. And most agency partners that we went to said we should run an ad campaign. We should hire an agency, we should run an ad campaign, target the African-American community. You know, honestly, it was very cliche, run on BET. Like, we're like, there's gotta be something different we can do. And instead of running an ad campaign, what we created was an experience. We created a 15-city gospel choir tour, and we called it How Sweet the Sound. And you didn't have to be African-American to be in it, but we knew that gospel music and gospel choirs were a huge you know, point in the African-American community. And it was a passion point. And we own this. We brought the IP to life. We did it in big arenas, like basketball arenas, 12, 13,000 seat arenas. We sold tickets. It was very lightly branded, but people knew it was from Verizon. And we just brought customers something that they loved to do. And it was early in the like reality show days. We had online voting. We had, you know, submissions, you know, we got to the real competition. We had judges, celebrity judges, and we did this tour all year long, culminating in like a national champion. No advertising. It was just an effort to connect with the community. We challenged every assumption about traditional advertising, and the market share needle moved like nothing else we had ever done in those cities and in those communities. And people said that was probably the most successful multicultural marketing thing we had ever done. And, you know, now Jeff talked yesterday about big budgets. I mean, at Verizon, you know, it was a big budget place. I mean, we were spending $2 billion. Like, we probably spent $35 million on this. But when you're spending $2 billion, it's like a rounding error. And it was amazing. And, you know, I had people backstage like crying, like thanking me. And it wasn't me, but I mean, they could see my Verizon name tag. They were crying, thanking me for doing something like this for the community. And that's when you know you've like really made a connection. So challenge all existing assumptions, right? That's number 6. Number 7, experiment. This is a quick one, but I remember, and you know, this is a lot about like test and learn, make small bets, and then see which ones are paying off, and then make bigger bets. Experiment a lot. I remember we were experimenting with coverage maps back in the day, like literally trying to compare our coverage map to AT&T's coverage map. And we were doing that for like posters and stuff in the store. We were like, what if we like compared, you know, the maps and showed like the difference? And all of a sudden, like, we realized we were kind of onto something, because when we did the actual comparison, we realized, and back in the day, it was the 3G coverage map. You know, it's 5G now, but it was 3G back then. And it was like, our coverage map is so much bigger than AT&T's. And we're like, let's exploit that. Sometimes experimentation can lead to a much bigger disruptive thing. And this is what happened.
We're on the island of misfit toys. Hey, check out the new guy.
What are you doing here? You can download apps and browse the web.
Yeah, people will love you. You're gonna fit right in here.
This holiday, it's the 3G coverage that counts. So give the gift with 5 times more 3G coverage than AT&T. Verizon Wireless.
So that came about because we were just messing with the maps and trying to see what the comparison looked like. And, you know, we were obviously big on beating down the iPhone with that AT&T map that year. We did it in a bunch of ways, but, you know, that paired with all that Droid stuff, that was all happening at the same time. So we're attacking AT&T for the map, and we're attacking iPhone there a little bit and coming at them with Droid. And it was just, you know, you could tell we were in a moment where we had to resuscitate it. But that would have never happened if we weren't actually like just experimenting in small ways with map comparisons. And then we realized we had something. And there was a whole series of ads like that ran, you know, and the map was the joke that you could kind of see through AT&T's map, right? So number 8, stay scrappy, right? Don't challenge even when you lead. don't get comfortable, stay scrappy, right? Value progress over process. You'll get tied up in corporate America over process flow charts and meetings to prep for the meetings. And, you got to value progress over process. Celebrate the small wins, go down one-way streets, even though you don't know where they lead, right? I'll give you a small example, another Verizon one. Like we were huge, but we bought Alltel at one point. It's probably like 2008. We bought Alltel back in the day. And what came with Alltel, a bunch of other stuff came with it. Obviously, that's why we bought them. But what came with Alltel was a NASCAR sponsorship that unfortunately could not be transferred to us because the Sprint had taken over the title sponsorship of the whole NASCAR series. So to become the Sprint Cup, and we couldn't do anything about that. So what we did was we kept the sponsorship. We launched the Verizon car in the lower series, the nationwide series, because we could. And what we did was we matched the car without, the only thing missing was the Verizon logo. So we skirted the rules in the actual like Sprint Cup so that they couldn't really do anything about it, but the cars looked pretty much identical. And what happened was we made more noise by doing that than I think we would have if we tried to brand it and announce it, and we just got scrappy. And I can tell you, I was there on the ground when we, the car rolled out of the 18-wheeler and all the Sprint people were standing there waiting to bang on us and, tell on us to NASCAR officials. And we were like, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't say Verizon. And the Verizon car had raced the day before. So it was just a scrappy way to kind of undercut a situation and get ourselves out of a pickle that we were kind of in, because we couldn't cancel the relationship. We wanted to keep, that relationship alive out of good faith, really, because we inherited it. And so we just tried to stay scrappy with it. So that's an example of staying scrappy. Number 9, have conviction. I honestly believe that conviction is more important than differentiation. I really do. People get caught up on differentiation. And these days, man, it's hard to sometimes carve a different path. Like, I'm not one of those people that believes like all the good ideas have been taken. There's still a lot of good original ideas, but it's harder and harder to find them. And so conviction sometimes is just as important as differentiation. And I'll show you a little 2-minute thing here, but if you've noticed the last couple of years at Chick-fil-A, we've done this thing. What we've got conviction about is some of the stuff that we believe in as a brand, what you would call brand values. So we've started this sort of tradition to bring out a little bit of an entertainment spin at Christmas, but it's all values oriented. So this was the one from 2019, a couple of years ago that ran.
Oh, it's snowing.
Right. Okay.
Let's make a snowman.
Can't now, honey.
Okay.
Dad,
Sorry, kiddo.
want to make a snowman? I can't see.
Welcome, Sam. You're right on time.
You know me?
Of course. You want to make a snowman, right?
How did you? Hey, what's that?
That's lost time. And then there's time that flies.
Whoa.
Ah, together time. The best kind. It can make memories that last forever.
I wish my family could understand.
Here, sometimes people just need a little reminder.
Sam, where are you?
Time to go, Sam.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Mom, Dad, guess what? Cats took me to a time shop.
What?
With so many clocks and cuckoos, lost time and time that flies, and all kinds of time. And here, the kinds you give.
What is this? Okay, everybody. There we go.
This is actually really fun. He's done.
And the cool thing about that is, like, it's a big brand value of ours. Like, it's always been prevalent in our kids' meals and things. Like, we've been very educational and sort of together time focused, not focused on, the plastic toy of the month. And so it's really important to us. And so we just said, like, we're committed to try and send positive messages in the world. And, we have conviction on that, and we're going to keep doing it. And it's big and it's expensive and it's lightly branded, but people know it's from us. And they start to love the brand even more for sending those kind of messages out into the world at Christmas time. So we're trying to think about how to turn that into a true entertainment property now. This is year 3, and it's taken us into different places, but it's really, really fun. It's really, really interesting, and it's been pretty successful. And then number 10, be a positive force, and it's sort of linked to number 9, because have conviction, but be a positive force. There's so much negativity in the world right now. You can't go a day without, reading about who's arguing with who, and social media making it worse and all that kind of stuff. And it's just in our country and in the world in general. So, we believe at Chick-fil-A in being a positive force as much as we possibly can. Our founder was, probably one of the most positive forces in business in the last 60, 70 years, and he's passed now. But, even the things that we do today, we try to honor that. Like, we'll go to the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, that happens every year. And not because we're advertising there, we'll go there because we'll build a pop-up restaurant to feed the kids from around the world and help them have a good time and make their experience better, and things like that. It's just trying to be a positive force. The operators are the face of our brand. This is a frontline brand at Chick-fil-A. So, if you go to Chick-fil-A, maybe your operator, the people that work there, the team members. Nobody really knows Chick-fil-A corporate people, and they don't need to. But the brand needs to be a positive force and give back to the community, to the national community, and to the global community, as much as an operator would give back to a local community that he or she works in or lives in and plays in. So it's just be a positive force, and a lot of people lining up around purpose-driven brands now and trying to understand what purpose means. Every brand has its own purpose, but it's probably something you should consider heavily, depending on where you're going to go and who you might join, in terms of, can it be a positive force, for good in the world? Because marketers can help do that, and that's a big deal. So those are my 10 things. What I would encourage you to remember is, use the Jedi mind tricks that I gave you. Try to remember them, take some tips. Jeff said, write down 4. Hopefully you wrote down more than 4 or pulled more than 4 insights. And what I would also remind you is, like, call or text that one person. Go back to that original story that I gave you. I'll tell you the other thing that happens to me is, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I probably get about 1,000 emails a week from people I don't know. A week. And a lot of it is spam. A lot of it is, and we have this thing at Chick-fil-A, like, trying to respond to everything, being a positive impact. Oh, it's impossible. You can't do it. But every once in a while, I go through all that stuff that seems like spam and try to filter some of it and go, is there something there? And I'm sure I've missed a million opportunities because you can't keep up with it all. But I'm hoping that every once in a while, you find a needle in a haystack, just like that time that I got that business card handed to me by my CMO of Verizon, because that led to, an unbelievable opportunity from that one card and from that one phone call I made. So thanks, and I hope that you take good care of yourselves. I'm happy, Jeff, to hang on and do questions, and however you want to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That was fantastic. I'm getting speaking of texting, I'm getting text messages and how much everybody's enjoying this, et cetera. So that was great. And you reinforced a few things that we talk about here a lot, which I may hit later. But while we're seeing if we get a few more questions in here, I know one that, well, 2. It's going to be a 2-part question. Let me do part 1 first. You've got a team there. How big is your team? Your marketing team in total?
Here, the marketing department, which is under the CMO, and I work for him, it's probably about 300, and that's inclusive of, like, our menu and packaging teams, our service and hospitality teams, our digital experience teams, like the app and everything that comes with that, our market insights team, and then my team. My team's probably about 70 now. So on the brand strategy, advertising, media, it's about 70. And that includes the in-house agency, which is part of our team now. So, and that's growing. It'll grow by about 15 next year. So it's going to go from about 70 to 85.
Yeah, it's kind of what I knew you had an in-house team. So I had our agency. So I had a feeling it was a pretty good sized team. That is a good sized team. And so you've got a range of people, from directors and managers to more entry-level people. As you think about what I would call people in their first 5 years of their career. What do you look for? What do you see in the ones that are successful that would be good advice for our students as they think about getting started in their careers? As somebody who oversees young talent and young marketers, what advice would you have for them?
Well, there's two different scenarios there, I think, Jeff. One is like, we get people right out of school, right? So it's always hard because, you're not going to have like the kind of resume that people are going to look for traditionally. So you're like, what am I going to do about that? I might have had, this job or that job or had this internship, which are all very good. So the biggest thing that we screen for in like very young hires is tenacity. Like I just want, it's like we look for it in terms of humble, hungry, smart. Those are the three filters we look for. Doesn't matter what kind of jobs you had, doesn't matter what experience you have. We can teach you all that stuff, but are you humble? Are you hungry? And are you smart? And not hungry for like, promotion and, self-promotion kind of stuff, but hungry for like, the contribution to the business, right? So we filter for those three things. And I always kind of roll it up. It's like tenacity is humble, hungry, smart, Then you get the people that are like, oh, well, they're, still kind of like young in their career, but they might have had a real job or 2 or 3 real jobs out of school. And so what I tend to look for there is breadth of experience already. So like, if you've been out for 5 years, have you had 2 or 3 roles, not one? Because it goes back to that thing I said first about being business people first. Like I like seeing, and I think the days of like people worrying about like everybody changing jobs every 2 years are kind of gone. I don't like that used to be a thing. You're like, oh, I don't like that on a resume. I love that on a resume now. I look for that, and did you even change departments? Did you serve in different functions? That's like super beneficial to having somebody get up to speed on being a business person first. So that's what we look for in younger folks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and kind of building on that, this may be kind of a hard question, but I got to ask it. I would say and I teach probably 80 to 100 students a semester, so maybe 200 a year. I would say Chick-fil-A is in the top 3 of companies that our students are interested in. And so what advice, there's Amazon, there's Google, and there's Chick-fil-A. Maybe Apple's thrown in there too. To go back to your old days, but what advice would you have if they had an interest in Chick-fil-A? Is there any, I know, you kind of got to go through the process, and that's one of the challenges now, right? Is you can look for jobs posted, but to get through all the resume screeners and all that process stuff. But if somebody truly has a passion, it could be Chick-fil-A, it could be somewhere else. Sounds like you've gotten to do a few things that were real passion points for you. What advice would you have for them to find that perfect fit, whether it's Chick-fil-A or someplace else? You see what I'm asking?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's 2 questions there. One is like, how do I get into Chick-fil-A? And 2 is how do you get linked up with something that's your passion point? But as far as Chick-fil-A goes, first of all, it's flattering. That's amazing that's true. Like to be in that company, because we feel like we're competing with the same talent that Amazon and Google and Apple are trying to get. So it feels real on our side, and we're getting people coming here from Tesla and from Amazon and stuff like that. So it's starting to happen a little bit. But what I would say, I would give you 2 tips on Chick-fil-A. One is like, get on LinkedIn and dig your way in. Like LinkedIn is the best way in to any place. It really is. Like, and especially when you're young, because a lot of people understand at some point you got to start giving back and paying back. Like I was an intern. I'm like super sensitive to that still. I try to champion those programs here and things like that. Like, if a young person connects with me on LinkedIn, I usually connect with them. If a salesperson my age tries to connect with me for some tech solution, I'm like, yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know. I want to do that. But LinkedIn is probably the most powerful social network out there that's like not understood that it is, so that's one. And then 2, it may sound weird, but lots of people come out of school and go work in a Chick-fil-A restaurant as the restaurant marketing director. That's a real role. And, your job is to drive growth and community engagement with that restaurant. And I think of the 70 people on our team, we probably have 7 or 8 former restaurant marketing directors. So it's a path to get in here if you do that for a couple of years. Now, some people don't want to do that because they don't want to work in a restaurant, you know, but bottom line is this is a restaurant business. So if you can go understand the business, like at the ground level in the front line, it's really valuable here, because a lot of things that we do, we're like, how would an operator think about that? How would a restaurant marketing director think about that? Is it going to be easy for them to execute on the front lines? Like, and so those people here are a valuable resource for us. So that's a little tip on Chick-fil-A, just something to consider that sometimes people don't consider. In terms of lining up with your passion points, like I said, like my, you know, yeah, I love technology. Like I loved Chick-fil-A because I had read a lot of Truett's books and I loved like the customer loyalty that they generated and stuff. But, and I always liked the restaurant business. I didn't know that I would work in it, but like what I really love is working for growth oriented companies. So, you know, like that's that. If you love that, there's lots of choices. You can fall in love with a lot of businesses that are growth oriented. You know, I remember when I was at the agency, one of the clients we had early on when I got there was, you know, the almond milk and the juice, Califia Farms. It's been pretty big like over the last 5 or 6 years, but they were just getting started when I was at the agency, and we started working with them early on when they were owned by venture capital and all kinds of stuff. And that was a growth monster. And I was like, I don't know anything about the beverage business, but it was probably the most fun thing I got to work on there because it was just high growth. And it didn't matter to me that, you know, I had never thought about going in the beverage business, and I went to all these beverage juicing plants and all this stuff to learn the business with them and all kinds of stuff. But I liked it because it was just fast paced, and, you know, it was a growth oriented business and the leaders were growth oriented. So a lot of times just trying to understand, like, do you love the business itself, or do you love like the nature of the business? I think can sometimes help you make a decision like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. I want to build on that just a little bit more. Oh, wait, let me see. I think Lauren may have a question here. So Lauren, do you want to ask it? Why don't you come off mute and ask?
Absolutely. So you were talking earlier a little bit about pushing back on some opportunities when people aren't exactly ready for that moment of disruption and running to change. How do you know when it's that time to push back and try to really fight for what you think is a great disruption moment when other people may not be completely on board yet?
That's a great question, because it happens all the time and the circumstances are always different. And here's what I would tell you. There's no secret formula to that, Lauren. There's no great answer to that. There's no silver bullet. You have to have that business people thing I talked about in the beginning is really key, because you have to have like an ear to the ground. Like right now at Chick-fil-A, it's really hard because it's really busy. And the operators are like at capacity. I mean, we practically can't cook any more chicken. So there's things that we want to do, but you know, if you're like pretty aware of what's going on in the business, you're like, now's not the time to push the needle. You know, like we got to start building. And sometimes you have to build for like 2023. Like we're talking a year or two out on some really cool things and disruptive things that we want to do, because we think we might solve capacity issues by then and catch up on some kitchen renovations and whatever. Right. Other times it may be like, no, it's a perfect time to do it because the storm is calm and you know when, but there's no silver bullet to it. It's keeping an ear to the ground, and especially in a field organization, and CPG, just as important, different kind of organization because your field is different, but it's understanding the business, knowing when to push and pull, and you got to do a little bit of both. I mean, I think even Richard Branson is pretty famous for saying like, sometimes you got to slow it down. If you want bigger progress over the long term, like you can't just push and never pull back. Sometimes you got to slow it down. So it's just have it. And that, what that comes with? It comes with at bats. That's just going to be, you'll get experience over time and you'll make some mistakes. I always say to people in business, like in baseball, you can bat 300 and be an all-star. In business, if you want to be an all-star, you got to bat about 800. You can make mistakes. You just can't make a lot of them, and you can't make the same ones over and over again. So you can make them. You don't have to bat 1,000, but that comes with at bats. It comes with reps. It comes with practice. It comes with trying stuff, experimenting, like I said. So it's kind of a little bit of all of it. I know that's kind of a kludgy answer, but there's no silver bullet.
Thank you.
If there's any other
Thank you.
Other questions out there, throw them in chat right now. Joe, I love how you said humble, hungry, and smart. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a minute, and maybe you can give some insider tips from somebody who interviews a lot of people. Obviously, that's a large part of our audience here. They're kind of going through their interview phase and stage and all that. How do you interview someone to learn if they're hungry, humble, and smart? Are there any any kind of tips that you could give to show that? We had a young lady last night. I think you would have enjoyed hearing our young alumni panel. These are young marketers earlier in their career. And a young lady last night said, nobody's perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Embrace being different and showcase that you're different, right? That no one's perfect. And go into an interview with that mindset that you're unique, you're different, and you can bring something of value to the partner or to the company. And I think that's some of what you're saying here with being hungry. Being humble, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, right? And so that was kind of a long-winded question, but
I got it.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm going with it.
Yeah, I got it. Smart is the easiest one to interview for because you can pick that up on a resume and you can pick that up in conversation. It's not difficult. Hungry is a little harder, and then humble's the hardest thing to interview for. It really is. Hungry, the way that I filter that in an interview, the way that I look for it in an interview is like, have you done your homework before you came in here? Like, I know this is a private company, or even when I was at Verizon, it's a public company, but like, have you read anything? Have you tried to understand the business? Like, it's not that hard. Like, most of the information is just a click away on the internet. Like, do your homework, not even just about the people that you might be meeting, but the company in general. Do you know anything about the history? Do you know anything about the performance? Do you know anything about, the current news cycle, like anything? And you would be amazed at how many people come in unprepared on that level. It's staggering. Or they do like the bare bones, and then the minute you push a little bit deeper, you're like, they don't know. They don't know. And you don't work here already. I don't expect you to know everything, but like, do your homework. That to me shows like you're hungry. You want it. Like, you want to show that Humble's the hardest. It just is, because honestly, in an interview, people can fake humble. Like, even if they're like, not trying to that much. I mean, they can sort of fake their way through humble. Most people know that humility is probably a prized trait at Chick-fil-A. Like, I think based on our values and based on the way we behave. So I think most people that do their homework come in knowing that a little bit. And so they will tend to be humble in an interview, so if somebody's not, and somebody's kind of arrogant or cocky, then you're like, it's not going to be a fit here. But, humble's the hardest because people can fake it. And, it's hard to test for, I mean, you can dig a little deeper, but, it's some of that for me is just gut. And like I said, I've made mistakes. It's not perfect. But because I don't like to get, there's some things I just don't like to push on an interview that I think make people uncomfortable. So I try to just feel it out in a gut way, but that's the hardest one. That's the hardest one for sure.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So I'm going to wrap up with one more question. This is something I asked to a lot of our speakers. Any recommended books, podcasts, blogs, in books you've read in the past or reading currently that you would recommend would be, I'm just a big believer in constantly reading and constantly learning. And I have a lot of students ask me what I would recommend for them to read. Anything on top of your book list or podcast list or anything for them?
Yeah, sure. My, you probably get this all the time now, but my like twice weekly listen is, or maybe more now because they have multiple, but Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway are at the top of my list right now. So, they do that one together, Pivot, and then she does the one by herself, Sway, and then he's got the Prof G one, but they're quite a pairing, the two of them. I've followed Kara Swisher for a long time because she was a tech reporter with Mossberg back in the day and did the whole code thing and all that. And then Galloway I've seen him speak live a couple times, and I've even talked to him on the phone a couple times. I was trying to get him to come down here and talk to us And then his celebrity has blown up a little bit, but their insights into kind of everything, culture and business and marketing and digital are to me pretty fascinating. So I've kind of, gone neck deep in that one from a business standpoint. That's probably my favorite now. From a book standpoint, the one that stuck out to me the last couple of years of all the ones I've read has been a book called Time, Talent, and Energy. And I can't even remember the author's name, but it's by two guys from Bain. And we had them come in, but it's a really good read and is about ultimately prioritization, like the problem of tackling too much and you can't tackle it all and you can't do it all. So how do you think through your time, your talent, and your energy to make sure that you're doing the right things? And it's really, really good. My favorite business book of all time, which I still try to give to people when they join, is Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull from Pixar. And it's also just another fascinating view into Steve Jobs' life. You can read his biography by Isaacson, but Catmull knew Jobs really well, and it was right. And I think Creativity Inc. came out right after Steve Jobs died. But there's so many things from Creativity Inc., from how Pixar operates, that I've tried to incorporate. It was really interesting to hear Jeff yesterday talk about how he, runs his campaigns in his department like almost like showrunners and by characters and stuff, how he runs it like a Hollywood studio, because we're starting to think like that. But there's so many things that we've like ripped out of Creativity Inc. and how like in your creative process, how you need to think about ideas and how you need to get feedback and how it can't, it's like one of their big things is that you can't like get personal with an idea. Like once an idea is spoken, then it's an idea that's in the ether. It's not yours anymore. And so you can't take it personal if people beat it up or make it better or whatever. But, and we use that here quite a bit, but that's probably my favorite of all time. Honestly, I don't know that anything has surpassed it yet, but Time, Talent, Energy is a really good one. You should check it out.
No, that's Joe. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I mean, my phone is blowing up right now. There are people asking if you do speaking engagements. Let's just put it down. So,
I really wish I was there in person, Jeff. I mean, I think it was probably the right call when you did it virtual, but I would have loved to have come to Columbia and, brought Cynthia with me. So hopefully at some point that'll happen and we'll meet in person and I'll get to see all of you in person. But thanks for having me this way. It was a treat.
If you're up for it, we'd love to do that. So we'll stay in touch. And next time I get to Atlanta, I'm going to buy you a number one. So,
I'll buy you a number one.
So, hey, everybody, thank you for participating. I know a lot of people have been over the last 2.5 days have been at various sessions. It's been a terrific couple of days. I've learned a lot. I hope you have it. You know what, at the end of the day, this is, as I said earlier, a marketing showcase event. And I think what Joe really brought to light is when you hear disruption, you think technology and business models and new competitors and COVID and ice storms in Texas and all that stuff. You know what? One of the biggest disruptors can be marketing. Just great marketing, getting outside of your comfort zone, not being afraid of change. And actually, as Joe said, running to change. And I firmly believe this. My students know this. I think marketing has to lead that charge up the hill inside any organization if they're going to embrace change. So thank you again, Joe. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you next year. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
See y'all.